Moving on, we are going to now talk about how to monetize your mobile game outside of the App Store. So I think it'll be a little bit of a move round. There are a few chairs, although that's mine. So let's give a couple of seconds for people to who are leaving to get through. If you're trying to get into the room, could you let the people out first? You'll find that it's going to make life a lot easier. And then if you are waiting to come in once those people have gone, if I can get as many people to come in as possible and fill up the seats so it's going to be much easier and we'll get less noise from outside if we get everyone in. So we'll get everyone to come on in. Come on down, there are chairs at the front here. And there's some chairs over here, so come on through. There's plenty of space, he says, trying to pack people in the middle of a pandemic. I didn't say that, honest. Right. Lovely seeing you. Miikka, tell us all about what you're doing to help monetize beyond the App Store.
So, hello everybody. My name is Miikka Luotio. Originally from Finland, and I've been working in the mobile game industry for over 16 years now. And today, I work at Xsolla as the regional director for Europe. And my topic today for you guys, I think it's an interesting times we're living in, really. Like, I think when you talk about monetizing your mobile games and you talk about app stores, I think there's change. There's change happening. You know, I think all of you guys who are here probably feel that there is going to be some change happening. So that's my topic today. So I'm going to give you a look on what you've been missing out on and why, so you understand a little bit what is the world outside of the big mobile app stores, right? And this is more about coverage, getting your players, finding them, allowing them to monetize. Okay, so first of all, what you've been missing out on. So you've been missing out on over 260 million potential players worldwide within the reach of the app stores that are not in the reach of the app stores. So this is coming from people that you haven't reached because the current app stores, and including platforms like Steam, they simply do not support local and alternative payment methods. So and this is where the rest of the industry outside of mobile has been doing leaps and bounds, and they've been working a long time in terms of coverage. We're talking about very large titles, franchise titles like Fortnite and Roblox. You know, they want to reach all the paying customers. And the truth of the fact is, right now, if you look at the situation of the payment methods, what is being covered by the app stores, and this is, I'm talking Google, Steam, Apple, you've been missing out on 260 million potential paying customers. And these are the numbers I crunched for you, so that's what you've been missing out on. Missing a slide here. Oh yeah. Anyways, so I'm going to talk about our global partners. So a little bit about Xsolla. So Xsolla has been operating for 16 years as a merchant of record for video game companies on PC, mobile, and all kinds of platforms. So we're platform agnostic. So some of the key partners that we have: Fortnite, Twitch, AppLovin, Take-Two, Glue, Nexters, Nexon, Roblox, PUBG, Team 17, Steam, Tilting Point, NetEase, Gamelog, the list goes on. 1,500 companies are using us worldwide. So the data that I'm showing you and this keynote that I want to make a point through is based on the data of our partners. And at Xsolla, we're selling in the excess of, for gross merchandise value every year, easily over $1.5 billion. And this data speaks of volumes. So the first time I joined Xsolla 1.5 years ago, coming from the mobile space, I asked myself, what have I been missing out on in terms of working with mobile games when it comes to payments, reaching people, enabling them to pay? So I'm going to talk to you about that in the next slide. So first of all, when we look at for example, we have 700 payment methods at Xsolla. What does that mean? So we wanted to come up with the delta and the difference between the app stores and, for example, the coverage we have at Xsolla. So this was like a thought exercise. We wanted to understand really, what have the mobile publishers been missing out on, especially with the fact that, the closed ecosystems have ruled this industry on mobile for so long. And I think that time is, you need to ask, everybody in this room need to ask that question, is that feasible anymore? Not only with the Web3, but when you look at the coverage, emerging markets, everything, the control you have to your players, direct relationship with your players. Right now, your relationship with your players is owned by those closed ecosystems. Is this the future? Is this something that you want to build your business on? And I think the answer is overwhelmingly no. I don't think that's where you want to build your business on. You want to build your business on owning your own customers. And that means enabling the ways to pay and the ways to play wherever, what screen, doesn't matter. Future is screens and not platforms. And that's where these numbers come and become very interesting, so that you understand what you're missing out right now when you're selling only through mobile platforms. So in the United States, for example, the customer base that we're looking, just comparison to the mobile platforms, Google and Apple, you're basically missing out on 1 million new paying customers there. Majority of US gamers own basically store gift cards, so they use a lot of that, which can stimulate the first-time payments for non-payers and improve customer retention. Cash usage remains 2 times higher than in Western European countries, which is interesting. And then when we go to Europe, you're looking at 40% coverage increase. What that means is 3 million new paying customers you're not reaching now with the mobile platforms. That's a lot. These are people that can actively purchase things on your game you cannot reach because they don't have access to pay, essentially on the payment methods that you are getting offered by using the platforms that you're using. So Germany, UK, France, and Spain, and Italy are the 5 largest markets in Europe, respectively. And Germany is the largest single market, with 20% of it covered by Solfort as a payment method, and 15% by PaySafe card. So that's huge. And that's not being covered by the platforms that you usually get when you work with Apple or Google. 10% by Amazon Pay, so that's pretty interesting. And then when we go to Latin America, that's also a huge emerging market for mobile. I know Brazil, especially for many of our mobile publisher partners, that's super interesting. So in Mexico, we have about 50 million players that makes it very attractive to developers. Brazil has 75.7 million players in total. Local credit card brands have over 50% market share. So local payment methods, local alternative payment methods are not supported by the platforms. And this is something that you've been missing out on. That's my big message today. You've been missing out on this. You've been held in a closed ecosystem, and that's what you've been missing out on. So, for example, in Brazil specifically, Boleto Flash, which is a local bank, accounts for over 15% of the whole payment market in that large market. PIX being the instant payment method, and it's becoming increasingly more and more popular. And then, of course, we have China. So China is interesting, right? But distribution rights is a whole other topic. But then what we've learned is that we are able to process payments in China, for example. So we do that for many of our publishers. So we process in-app purchases in China, and that enables you access with 90% better coverage, means 200 million new paying gamers that you can access that neither Google or Apple can support. So that's what you're missing out on. And 54% of the payment transactions happen via Alipay, WeChat, and they all require usually a complicated KYC to even get there. So our model of operation is a merchant of record, so we can actually help you sell, for example, in territories where you wouldn't otherwise be able to sell. So that's what you've been missing out on. South Korea. You can increase your customer base there by 5 million new paying customers. Credit cards, debit cards account for 55% of the South Korean market. And these are local, really local credit cards, local debit cards that are not supported by the big gaming platforms. That's why we're supporting Genshin Impact, Epic, all of the big companies there, because they want to reach those players that love their games, but simply do not have access to international payment methods. And I think that's what I'm trying to make the point here. Access to international payment methods. The future, in my opinion, is where emerging markets are leading is in alternative payment methods. The Western market, we're happy with our international payment methods because we have access to that. But local markets, emerging markets have been innovating on this much more than the Western markets out of necessity because they had to. But the fact is, the established platforms on mobile simply haven't kept up to speed. So that's the news that I'm bringing you for today. In South Korea, going back to that, the mobile payments and prepaid cards account over 32% market share. So local digital wallets are in the rise with 10% of the market share in South Korea. And then when we hop into Russia, where you have 50% increased coverage compared to the established platforms, that means 5 million new paying customers, 65 million gamers, which is roughly equal to the size of Japan's gaming population in Russia. Russian gamers still prefer local payment options to global ones. And that's, again, a narrative that keeps on going with these emerging markets. So that's what I'm trying to get you guys to understand and start asking those questions. 90% of the cards are issued by local banks again. And when we go to Japan, mentioning it, the customer base, when we're talking about 35% seems kind of slow, kind of small, sorry, but it's actually 20 million new paying customers. You're not having the people that don't have access to those international payment methods. So you're missing out on 20 million players in Japan every day when you're reliant on closed ecosystems. And the cash-based payment methods account for about 20% of the market share there. Also, they rank the second in terms of right behind the credit cards in terms of market share. So cash is king in Japan, funnily enough. Web money, a payment method, has 10% market share. Mobile payments have a quite large share as well at 5%. And then when we go to a very hot market, everybody talks to me about Turkey right now and Turkey being a hot market. I see the numbers. I see the numbers that our partners at a very large scale are processing there, and it's exciting. Like even Turkey itself, we're talking about 5 million new paying gamers that you're missing out right now. So 5 million, and that comes out of the 25% increase in coverage. And there's 30 million gamers in Turkey. Mobile game revenue in Turkey is 142 million with an annual growth rate of 7%. So that's why everybody's talking about Turkey. And we see that. But also the platforms, the closed ecosystems are not keeping up with the demand in terms of access for people to pay in the games that they play. They might play your game, but they don't, again, have access to pay. And that's really capturing the market of 30 million gamers in Turkey. Mobile payments are also on the rise there because that's so simple. And again, emerging markets are really focused on innovating for people to find easy ways to pay where the West has stagnated in a sense. But that's why the Western closed ecosystems have also they have some catching up to do. And will they ever catch up? That's the question. So what can you do today? Many people that I talk to on mobile, they ask me like, okay, well, there's the whole Apple versus Epic thing happening, and I just rather wait in a bunker and see what happens and how the dice rolls. I mean, the truth is, I read in the news that 35 states in the United States are being bankrolled by Microsoft to go against Apple. So that's interesting. Netherlands, Apple proposed to basically say that, okay, here's our plan and here's the commission that we will take. And I don't know what the plan was, but Apple got fined 5 million and they were asked to resubmit. So that's what's happening. So you follow that space, that's interesting, but the question remains, how can you reach that market of 260 million paying customers you're not reaching right now? So some of our partners, the way they're approaching this is obviously cross-platform. So when you create a web or PC version of your mobile game, that's when you have liberty to choose, for example, the payment methods, choose a partner that can give you access to the payment methods, to be able to sell to a really, truly global coverage, which is something that's completely understated right now with the closed ecosystems out there. So the other interesting thing and gaining popularity by the day is what we coined web shop. That's by no means, it's just a terminology, mechanical terminology, where essentially mobile games create a in-game store, if you will, on a website. And they sell specific like high-value bundles there usually. So many of our partners are selling bundles that may cost hundreds of dollars. And they're basically migrating most of their whales to that platform because it's more profitable. They get more coverage. They get access to those players that they're missing out on. And this is an easy venue for them to be able to offer also more customized offers for their players. So we see our partners like Scopely, AppLovin, Tilting Point doing leaps and bounds on that. And then finally, of course, Android SDK, Android and third-party stores. Somebody in my earlier fireside chat was nice enough to ask me, like, so what about the third-party stores? Many of them can't do in-app purchases, right? So my prediction is that in the future, we look at there's first-party stores, third-party stores. My prediction is that the future is going to be publisher stores. I feel that in the future, to enable metaverse, there needs to be a removal of these platforms that are holding back the evolution of the industry. And with Web3, hyperlinks power needs to be coming through with whatever the platform is. Closed ecosystems do not and cannot exist to support Web3. Because the idea of Web3 is to enable true access in terms of Web3, that you get a hyperlink, you can pay with that hyperlink. You can play whatever the screen is, whatever the device is, instantly. Whatever screen you're looking at, you can pay and play and do whatever in the game. And I think in order to get there, really, that is, I think, the big question you all need to be asking yourselves. Like, what is the future? Is it going to be closed ecosystems, open ecosystems? You can already take control by creating your own customer base, your own publisher ID or developer ID system that legally allows you to actually hold those customers as your own. So many what we're seeing is across the industry, people are creating their own ID setups that exist outside of the mobile store. So app stores no longer own your customers. They don't no longer own your players. So now is the time to look into that and ask that question. Do I want to own my customers independent of those closed ecosystems? Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's excellent. So I have plenty of things I could ask, and you are the first person to say metaverse since we started this afternoon, so thick. Anyone else want to ask a question before I kind of go on? Right, so I'm going to sort of pose the thing. So there is a lot of momentum at the moment, obviously, between Epic and Steam and also App Store, Apple and Google. I imagine all sorts of places are going to cause problems. We've had all of the change with the IDFA being removed and the issues that that's caused, ironically putting Apple arguably in a better position because of the process. You're hinting that this is the start of a process, not the end of it. Do you think that we're seeing the sort of death rattles of the closed ecosystem? Or is there actually a lot more fight left in the old girl yet?
Yeah, I think the reason that you have to ask when you look at these closed ecosystems, that the business model was created. When I started in the mobile game industry 16 years ago, we were first selling games directly to operators. And then
the good old days.
The good old days, fun. But not so much money, right?
No, true.
And then App Store came and it opened up a big venue for selling in-game goods, right? Like they created the microtransaction for mobile games, and that really...
I'd already done that. I did that in 2003.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then what happened is, like, you look at that system was designed 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So you have to ask, is that the grandpa overstaying a Christmas visit?
I'm not commenting on the grounds that I designed mine 20 years ago, but that's another subject. But the thing is that we're out of time, but I mean, I think this is a really interesting area, and I think a lot of the stuff that you're trying to do is really interesting because we can't just stick with one store anymore. We can't stick with the ones that are obvious. I think there's so much inherent inertia, and what we need to do is find ways to reduce the friction to get to players, not put up with the friction that's there.
Yeah, that's what Web3 is about, right?
Yeah.
Reducing that friction, allowing access.
Whether you believe in NFTs or not, that's a different subject we'll talk about another time. Miikka, thank you so much.